And there we are once again. This is Chris back here with the old Drunken Rogues. Unfortunately, I can't get drunken today because we had to go out camping. I forgot all about it, and they don't allow alcohol out on the state parks. So we're just rogues, I guess, today. We have a couple of guests with us. Now I have to be jealous. Now I'm jealous. One's an old friend of mine, Mr. Tyler Chancey. How about you introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Chris. My name is Tyler. I'm a long-standing critic and pundit in the video game industry, and have been cutting my teeth with the tabletop and the board game industry, writing and doing a lot of extensive coverage and interviews and primarily for TechRaptor.net, but you can also find my bylines at thegamefanatics.com. I also, in my own spare time, I do run tabletop RPG campaigns. In fact, I do run D&D for the illustrious influencer Black Crystal of Achievement Hunter on her Discord. Just a little humble brag on my part.
And Sean and Robin, how about we tell a little bit about you?
Hi, well, I am Sean Tate Bircher. This is my lovely wife, Robin English Bircher. And we've been writing tabletop RPGs for about a dozen years.
No, it's about a decade.
Okay. Yeah.
You've been working on it for a decade.
Not quite a decade. Okay, so not quite a decade then. Yeah. We've largely worked with Savage Worlds. We've published directly with Pinnacle Entertainment Group and several of their licensees. Biggest, most recent project is the second edition of the Freedom Squadron RPG from Evil Beagle Games and now Mobius Worlds Games.
Well, Mobius Worlds Publishing.
Sorry. I caught it just.
I love the unison. It definitely...
It happens.
It's that mind meld.
Yeah, it's always good to see. And again, I got to know you two through Mike, and because he's the one that created the Venom Assault deck building game. And so, how does Freedom Squadron mesh with Venom Assault?
I would call it either a parallel universe to the storyline of the games, or like 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
It is set at a period where Freedom Squadron has expanded from being like a comic book Larry Hama style, 100 to 200 people large squadron into a cartoon style gigantic army with its own navy and a fleet of aircraft and stuff like that.
Okay.
Possibly space.
Oh yes, and space stuff too. Yeah.
Got to go to space eventually, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In Freedom Squadron, the RPG, you get to create a brand new character of your own. And as you advance in ranks, you rub shoulders with and become a peer to the carded characters that you see in the game, like Catamount and Blindsight and General Steel.
Corporal Carnage.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Corporal Carnage. Mainly Catamount. Yeah.
You got to love the camp. You got to love the unapologetic camp of it all.
Yes, honestly, when we started the project, I wanted to lean more into the slightly more seriousness of the comics, but then going back through and prepping for it by watching the cartoons again, reading other comic book writers like what's his name? Siddersley? I forget. Last guy who handled the book for IDW before it got rebooted. And things like that. I realized that there was a lot of sly satire to the cartoon.
Had a bit more teeth than you remember.
Yeah, a lot more teeth than I remembered it. And so we morphed our approach to it as we moved along, and I think came to adopt and embrace the craziness quite a bit more.
Yeah.
as is reflected in Project Awesome, the adventure series that is accompanying this new launch.
Fascinating.
Now, if I also remember, it's not just well, you can be, of course, Army, Navy, Air Force, and similar. Of course, it's an international group under the UN. But you can also get into Eldritch magic and cybernetics.
The cybernetics is covered pretty well in the new books. We still, okay, so magic and everything definitely exists. We haven't gotten to publishing that section of stuff yet.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
There are 2 upcoming books, the Advanced Technology Manual and Occult Operations Manual. We don't have any dates on them right now. Everything's kind of in flux at the moment. But those will ramp up the sci-fi quite a bit and bring in the magic real strong.
Magic and supernatural.
Yeah. And with those, you might see some homages to other toy lines of the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Very cheeky.
Good. I was just, it had something in there. Now my brain is frozen. Not the Transformers.
The
Right.
Robocons.
Yeah, the
Robocons.
Yeah.
Robotrons are the heroic shape-shifting robots, and the Robocons are the evil ones.
So yeah, Project Awesome is basically a venture campaign that went with the recent Kickstarter. It was 3 adventures. The first one was Secrets in the Ice, written by Ross Watson. He wrote that to really just be a G.I. Joe kind of like
the ultimate word in G.I. Joe cartoon style adventures.
Yeah.
A very straightforward adventure, more or less.
Straightforward, over the top adventure.
Yeah. Yes.
We had there's a battle between a sky carrier and a submarine aircraft carrier and things like that.
So. Then we've had Glamour and Glitter, which I wrote, which has the team go behind the new Iron Curtain to rescue a sound engineer. And in the course of that game, players actually do get to actually play as if they're in a band and have a Scott Pilgrim style fight with the Terranauts. And basically are going to save the sound engineer has some suspiciously similar things to another 1980s cartoon line. Hasbro property.
Beautiful.
It's Gem of the Holograms by way of Atomic Blonde.
I'm sold. Sold. Where can I get a copy?
It also contains some expanded rules, a preview of where we're going with the Advanced Technology Manual, and how you can kind of scale up the powers in Savage Worlds so that they're like vehicle sized and things like that. And then the third adventure is Robocon's Arise, where it directly pits the heroes against the shape-shifting evil Robocons and their evil leader Regmatron. It actually contains rules for playing a giant shape-shifting robot.
Nice.
Car only right now, vehicle only at the moment. But
things will expand as we go into the next set of books.
Yes.
Very nice.
And we're not unfamiliar with going into playing big, insane characters in Savage Worlds, because we also are the creators and writers of Dawn of the Night Kaiju, where you actually play kaiju.
Yes.
Kaiju heroes. So it was like, okay, well now we'll just do big, giant transforming robots.
Yeah. If anything, it's scaling down.
We're scaling down.
Yeah.
So if I ever want to do a sort of montage or a homage to like Ultraman or like classic Toho Godzilla, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The late Showa era and the legendary films are the primary source. Well, late Showa, legendary, and the 90s Gamera films are the main influence there.
And when you say legendary, you mean like the Warner Brothers MonsterVerse movies, the more ones. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
There is a question, if I might ask, regarding how difficult it is to actually account for scale when it comes to damage and size output, because I notice that seems to always be a sticking point when it comes to any TTRPG system. Like, you look at just about any system, they never fully get it right. Like, the fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons OGL kind of has a weird thing with it. The most recent system, Essence 20 by Renegade, has a weird thing with it. So many different systems I know can't really account a whole lot for size without making things too crunchy. And if it becomes too crunchy, it's not as accessible, and you lose that general audience. But then you lose that key sense of weight. So, how can you like maybe talk a bit about that if you can?
I'd say the math gets kind of heavy sometimes,
but it's heavy for Savage Worlds.
Yeah, which is overall kind of math light.
So
it balances out there. It's definitely Dawn of the Dead Kaiju is heavier on the math than a lot of Savage settings, and frankly, I don't recommend trying to blend those characters with with any other setting, because it just doesn't work.
Maybe Rifts.
Which
we also worked on Rifts. So
yeah. But that would be the only one that you would want to blend things there. And in integrating the Robotrons into Freedom Squadron, it's remarkably not that different, because you're already dealing with tanks and planes and jeeps and things like that. And also there are rules to really armor up your player characters, the normal human ones. So it's not that gigantic a shift in scale.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Once you begin working in 4x10 damage from a Megatron style giant laser cannon, it works out. Yeah.
It's just been something that's on my mind, and pardon me, but I'm actually not too familiar personally with the Savage Worlds TTRPG system, which is why I wanted to ask.
Savage World is about trying to keep ththings as streamlined and as straightforward as it can be.
Fast, furious, fun.
Sounds like the kind of stuff my personal gaming group would really enjoy. Like as crunchy as we do get at times, the worst we get is maybe homebrew 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. The ceiling is medium.
No, that makes perfect sense. And frankly, I'd say the 5th edition learned some tricks from Savage Worlds.
Definitely. The shoulders of giants, am I right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's say again, much like Tyler, I don't know much about Savage Worlds. My only thing I've gotten was, aside from Freedom Squadron, I got the MHI set.
Okay.
If I were coming in this fresh, what do I need to get started?
The Savage Worlds Adventure Edition's core rules and the Freedom Squadron Field Manual. And that's it. We deliberately wrote it so that you didn't have to use any other additional companions or anything of that sort. Now, if you want to go ahead and get the Freedom Squadron Friends Foes book, then you'll also get some additional player options in, as well as the gigantic chunk of non-player characters that take up the majority of the book.
Trying to fulfill as many of the carded characters from Venom Assault as we could, and adding in a handful of new ones.
Right. It generally sticks to more of the straightforward military adventure types, but there is some degree of the sci-fi creeping in. You've got the Terrornauts, the correspondence to the Dreadnoks. You've got some crazy ninja action, but there will be more crazy ninja action in the Occult Operations Manual.
Yeah.
Oh, occult and ninjas. Hello.
Mystical martial arts. That's occult.
We've already kind of, the Friends and Foes kind of starts touching on that.
Yeah.
And it would be expanded in the Occult Manual.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And it sounds like you can take it as straight military, or go off into the mystical as you wish.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not going to dictate anybody's playstyle to them. If you want to stick close to like Larry Hama or Chuck Dixon style, or if you want to go totally nuts and do extra cartoonish, that's fine.
I was gonna say it sounds like it's very malleable. It can go between the more grounded, like you said, Larry Hama, or maybe something a bit more serious, like I don't know, recent IDW, or you can just go full Saturday morning cartoon cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one of the basic core setting rules is one where as you advance in character, eventually you get to a point where you can't really be killed off unless you deliberately choose to sacrifice the character to achieve some sort of military goal. But in the new revised field manual, there's also a setting rule where nobody dies.
So yeah, so if a Venom agent is incapacitated, they either incapacitated and have been captured, or you killed their clone, or whatever you want to do.
Or
it was a robot or something.
The tank blows up, everybody runs out of it 2 seconds earlier.
The parachute deploys, they get away.
Exactly, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you can be as family friendly as you want, or you can play it like I do, where people get stabbed in the neck.
Nice. Yeah, I know.
I think your Larry Hama showing, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard Savage Worlds was recently updated, and relatively recently, I should say.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but it's taken a while to for the shockwaves of it all to work their way through.
Yeah.
The third-party licensees.
Yeah.
I always notice it takes a while for like any kind of updated system to kind of catch on, or even a new system to catch on. Like word of mouth, especially in the TTRPG space, takes a while for it to kind of spread out. But once it does, its audience is found. But it's that weird, uncertainty.
And they've been playing with the system since Suede launched. They've just made some adjustments to a few of the rules a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So we're on the 6th version at this point of the rules. But I mean, it because of COVID, because of everything that happened, I mean, Adventure Edition came out and people were starting to play in person, and then so a lot of the licensees, most of the licensees that do a lot of the Savage World stuff, most of us work full-time jobs. And so we had to wait. So with trying to balance everything, that's why a lot of the licensee games took a little while to get into Suede. But everybody did embrace it pretty quickly.
That's good.
Yeah. The fan base is pretty dedicated and supportive.
Yes.
That's good.
It might not be a huge one, but it's a great fan base. Yeah.
Hey, it's always good to have, you're holding on to that group that likes what you do, and just make sure that's all there. It's always important. Definitely. Actually, on the topic of COVID, I know it's a topic I don't really want to talk about, but I am glad though that it seems that at least in my neck of the woods, people are properly vaccinating and observing protocol and going the like. And it's getting to the point now. It's gotten to the point where I'm actually finally been able to actually run and do board game stuff and TTRPGs IRL again. And to a certain extent, I do kind of miss the resources I have at my fingertips when I use a VTT and the like, but at the same time, you just miss that tactile feel of being in the same room with dice and a screen and sheets.
Yeah. Savage Worlds is particularly toyetic. You've got your dice, you've got playing cards, you've got tokens to track conditions and bennies and things like that. It's a lot of playing with action figures in an RPG. And so I love doing it in person much more because of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are definitely advantages to doing it online as well.
I mean, we were able to go to Genghis Khan and run Project Awesome
nice
back in February, and then last month we went to Chupacabra Con, which is in Round Rock, aka North Austin, where we ran Project Awesome and a couple new adventures, kind of hinting at some of the stuff in the upcoming books.
Yeah, North Austin, Texas.
North Austin, Texas.
Yeah, in case people don't realize that Austin. Yes.
Yeah, that Austin.
You've got to
But yeah, we were at a convention where everybody had to be vaccinated and the whole nine yards. We still had a small spread, but everybody was communicating right away.
Oh yeah, and there's definitely a demand to get back out and start doing things in person, as proved by the grand opening just within the last few weeks of Black Potion, a gaming tavern here in San Antonio, Texas.
So yeah, we got a brand new one of our first overall full gaming tavern, and it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
that is great.
So yes, we're back in it, and again, they're extremely good about keeping space and being careful.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that we're in Texas.
That's especially good to hear. I mean, not to kind of like show a bit of my particular skill set kind of coming in, but I know that COVID has been very difficult in many industries, but the TTRPG and the board game community industry more so, just because people aren't getting out, and word of mouth is the lifeblood when it comes to getting word out. And if you're not there at the venue showing off your product, it's a lot harder to sort of sell that. And it's a lot harder to get that word of mouth and get that consistency. And I've heard some sad things when it comes to certain studios and certain creatives that just couldn't maintain it with everything that happened. So
I guess we'll see after Origins this weekend how things went.
Yeah,
absolutely. Knock on wood.
Good about maintaining an online presence themselves. So they've done a couple of just Pinnacle only online conventions over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Towards the end of October.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Halloween last year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we have the resources to allow for that sort of stuff. And I do know that to a certain extent, it is because, in certain ways, because of lockdown, TTRPGs have become more and more adopted and more accepted by people because of the proliferation of VTTs and online platforms. Like, because of being in lockdown, I actually finally got a D&D group together with a few of my old friends that we used to just game all the time before life separated us, and it was kind of like coming home again. Under the most worst possible circumstances. but that has led to good things, because I know also the nonprofit Hope for the Warriors actually started adopting started using Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPG sessions online to help military vets coming back into civilian life and helping them maintain that social circle, maintaining that social net and that transition. And I think that is one of the net positives, I guess you could say, about this sort of stuff, kind of tying it, I guess, military adjacent.
Yeah.
I know, again, I was going to go to a few conventions over the last year or so, and they sure, you can set up a booth, and then when I tell them I'm going to be doing board games, and no, we can't have that because you're too close. It's too, so they wouldn't allow us to go because of that. So what I wanted to ask is, I've recently started getting into Roll20. Do you have a module on there for Freedom Squadron?
Not officially, no.
No,
not at present.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some VTT assets that came with the last Kickstarter. Things are still being shipped out to the backers. I mean, as we speak, we're finishing it up. So things will likely be released to the public via Drive-Thru RPG relatively soon.
Okay. And definitely, if that's what you want, let the publishers know. Yeah.
That's
get
the
the word
thing.
out. We're not the IP owners. We're
not even the publishers.
Yeah, we're not even the publishers. We are just freelance contractors who worked on this book and would love to do more with it. But you definitely want to get the word out. Go ahead and request that of Mobius Worlds Publishing. This is not the first time it has come up. So we're not in charge of the money.
Yeah,
and since Evil Beagle is closing down and Mobius Worlds is ramping up in its place, and it's a lot of the same people. So if anybody's worried about that changeover, don't really be worried. It's pretty much a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
So it's just that with that changeover, they're going to have to figure. I don't think there is anybody specifically to do like VTT stuff specifically. So as things improve and people ask for it, that definitely will likely be happening.
Buy stuff, give them money, and then maybe they can put that into it.
That's usually the best way around it.
Also, just share the love to all the hard developers and freelancers putting in that work and putting in that love and passion. Can we just, give a big old hug and a big old virtual handshake to these two just for all the work they do?
Yeah, it can't be easy, especially when you had to switch to a second edition.
It was fun and challenging, and sometimes heartbreaking and maddening, but I think more fun and challenging.
And we were able to collect and divert both people with more experience, people with little experience, and all produced good material to help us create a much stronger product. Because
were there any particular instances that happened while you were kind of going from the one edition to the second edition system? Were there any sort of weird things that kind of happened with that? Like, oh, you thought it was X, but actually Y kind of happened? Because I know that always seems to happen whenever a new edition or a big change or even a minor iteration happens to a certain agreed upon system.
The one that always sticks in my mind is that there was this one ability that assisted with making healing rolls, and there had already been a partial conversion document to Suede, and the fact that you no longer had to take into account the wounded person's wound penalties in making the healing roll had just totally gotten skipped. And I missed that for a couple of editing passes and then realized, oops, nope, got to fix that.
It takes a village.
One of the big elements with Freedom Squadron is the use of framework. So most of Savage Worlds is just you're placing your points in whatever area you want to.
Normal point buy system where you just select where you just build your character from scratch.
But Freedom Squadron takes the idea of frameworks, which was pioneered in Savage Rifts, where you have a base character with some skills and stuff already added, but then of course you still have to do the rest of your build. And when we were working on the new edition, we realized that there were some issues with balance, and we wanted to make sure that every player was coming in with his balanced character. Everybody was on the same page.
Yeah. Because there was agreed upon floor for everybody was on the same. Floor.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was kind of all over the place, and I'd been in games where I started playing a character, a framework that will not come out until the Occult Manual, back in the early days of Freedom Squadron, and my character was always underpowered. And that's what kind of noticed it. It's like, wait a minute, I've seen these other characters who are have all this stuff, and my character would not have anything until they were several, advances. So we went and made sure to fix that balance in the original frameworks, but also to keep it for the new ones.
Yeah. So there was one framework that didn't really get any change whatsoever. That's the basic soldier framework.
Okay.
Almost every other framework has been rebalanced up to the same amount of points as the soldier framework. Mm-hmm. The scientist had too many, so we took away a little bit from the scientist. Only a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you are familiar with if you're a viewer who's familiar with Freedom Squadron and you have not looked into the field manual, yes, everything has gotten a power balance.
Yeah.
So it is worth looking back at things.
That was one of the biggest changes. Yeah.
Yeah, because it used to be one thing that changed was that Savage Worlds used to not give you any base skills. Now in Savage Worlds Adventure Edition Suede, it does. And that unbalanced a few things that came with those base skills. Mm-hmm. Like ninjas actually were less powerful than they had been before.
Yeah.
Where they had previously been kind of overpowered, but now they weren't.
Yeah.
Can we do a discourse about that?
No.
Yeah, I was reading last night. I was reading through the core manual, and I did like how it had all of these different styles of characters that you could play, and it gave that framework that you said. And I bet there was a ton of them. I was surprised.
Mhm.
Not only that, but it was neat how you put the how do I want to say it? The advanced corresponding Venom Assault character. Well, because I played the deck builder like to death. Okay,
Mhm.
I have everything laminated in sleeves. I'm nuts with it. So
Yeah, we saw the Michael Knight
Yeah.
podcast. So yeah, we know.
know where this is. Okay, but so yeah, being able to see, oh, this archetype matches with this character that I know, and so that I really like that.
Mhm.
Thanks. Yeah, that's actually something that's got nothing compliments on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I just stole that from Paizo. That's something that Pathfinder setup. You've got your class and your iconic character who embodies that class. I just went, well, we could do this too.
I'm glad you did.
I think the one that I'm proudest of is High Tech, the ninja, because he is both utterly a ninja and also a weird twist on it since he's got the power armor. And so that was a fun thing to be able to put in there. It would have been so easy to just simply make it the Snake Eyes correspondent Blindside, but no, I thought it was more fun to give that time.
Yeah, and Blindsight, we decided we need a little occult with.
Yeah.
So he's in Friends and Foes, right?
He's in the core man.
He's in the field manual. Okay, I forgot.
Yeah, but we invented a few edges just for him.
Yeah.
Added a little more ninja magic on top of ninjas being cool enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking through. Again, I didn't get a chance to read everything yet because I'm completely brand new to the Savage Worlds. But another thing I really enjoyed was the tables. How when you're making the character, you say in the archetype you roll on this table and this table to get, and then you had the narrative table yet.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
That was from the original edition. That didn't change.
We can't really take too much credit for that
one.
But it is a great part of the book.
Especially for those people who are still kind of struggling for who their character is, that narrative table really does help.
Yeah.
I always appreciate whenever those sorts of charts and features get introduced, because it's one thing that I think a lot of like veteran players at the table kind of take for granted. It's onboarding new players.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like when I play, I at this point ignore the narratives tables unless I'm like, I don't know.
You don't have a character in mind, you're good.
Yeah, but I know how important it is for a new player to have some entrance, something that will help them. A hook.
Yeah.
So that kind of we still wanted to keep that there and make sure it was still usable.
Definitely.
How do I want to ask this? What is your favorite way to play it? Do you go full occult, or do you take it mainstream, campy, or?
Well, when I'm given the chance, I go campy occult. So at Chupacabra Con, I ran a new adventure, kind of hoping just showing people some of the stuff that would be in the cult manual, where they're having to face vampires. And so the adventure starts at this weird ferry. It's a club. It was a club back in the early 2020s in Staten Island. And then there's some weird people in the audience, in the crowd that, who just don't look quite right. And are saying weird things that are actually useful to the players.
That's actually starting to sound way too much like a Vampire the Masquerade 5e one shot I ran.
And that was just the setup. And then, of course, then at the rest of it was kind of like, a little more
this
Buffy.
Hot isn't cursed.
Yeah, this hot isn't cursed.
Is it though?
Yes, that actually appears in the game. So yeah, that was kind of fun having, and unfortunately, only a couple people at the table actually knew all those references, and I'm like, oh They had fun anyway.
Yeah, back before life interrupted our in-person game of Freedom Squadron with the local Texas crew. What I was running was basically Freedom Squadron versus the toys that made us. So every adventure would involve some sort of correspondent to other toy lines. There was a Barbie adventure.
Yes, there was a Barbie adventure.
The
It
Barbie
was
adventure
insane.
was good. Yeah.
Played at a whiskey distillery, by the way.
Yeah.
We met at a whiskey distillery to play.
And that's part of what the Project Awesome Adventures came from.
Yeah.
Is the intention of moving that G.I. Joe versus the toys that made us thing into the regular Freedom Squadron line. I
guess just bringing into that whole appeal of just opening the toy box, picking up whatever, just throwing it together.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got plans to mash up things with like the $6 Million Man.
Yeah, that was the one you ran for
yeah.
Chupa, his preview game.
Yeah. Star Wars, Star Trek.
Nice.
Yeah.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
And She-Ra.
So what you're trying to tell me is you actually had an honest-to-goodness debate over whether or not the Vulcan mind meld could overwhelm the Jedi mind trick. Gotcha.
Haven't gotten there yet, but it is on the docket to discuss.
I figured out the mechanics for a blaster deflecting with a lightsaber. And finally figured out how to do that.
There you go.
There you go. But I mean, luckily we have this great crew who's willing to do tests. I mean, even though we're spread out, all of our writing crew, we have people in Denver where Mobius Worlds is located.
Bill Keys and Scott Crossan.
We're in San Antonio. Our other writer, Aaron Burkett, who's currently working on Savage Rifts, is in Houston. And then our newbie, Ted Pick Jr., is in the Dallas area. He was in San Antonio, now he's in Dallas, who's done some stuff for East Texas University.
Yeah.
So we've gotten together in person. We were all together at ChupacabraCon, strangely enough, but we didn't play as a group. But last year we all went out to the beach and we rented a house and played on the beach in the day, in the morning, and then we gamed all night doing tests and stuff.
Yeah,
which was really fun.
Like, say, the Parapsychologist.
Yeah, which did not work out as well as we'd hoped, and it's under construction. And the person who played that is, even though it's not one of our writers, it's a spouse.
Back to the drawing board. Of course.
Yeah, she still gives us feedback. In fact, we redid her for use in one of the games at ChupacabraCon, and that's who played that character. So she got to see a new version of it and play it and give feedback. So that's really been very useful. I think we're very glad to have writers and their close friends and family willing to play and be guinea pigs and
not
work
only
through
a great
things.
team of writers, but a great team of writers' spouses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since everybody who is part of the team also is married to a gamer spouse.
Most everyone. Yeah. Scott's not married, but everyone else is.
Well, everybody who is married is married to a gamer.
Is married to a gamer. So it all works out.
Mm-hmm. And Carol's has started doing some writing too. So
I know. Yeah, cool. and Aaron worked on Suited.
Yeah.
So
if there's one great constant I do know, like the good or the bad when it comes to the gaming community and the nerd community, it's they show a lot of love for what they like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much why I started doing this is just to spread the word about all of it, because as I was talking to Mike and he brought RPG and stuff, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this? With me loving Venom Assault so much, I didn't know how I never heard of this. So again, it's an honor to be able to bring you on and spread the word about it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Like I said before we started here, it's a small industry, but it's a big hobby, and so it's you just can't keep up with everything.
Yeah.
No, you cannot. I've only just now started getting a bit more into the tabletop industry in like the past 3 years or so, and it's kind of it was kind of me thinking, okay, I'll just dip my toe in, and then I'm up to my neck, and then I realize I'm in a deep sea diving suit, and I'm watching my pressure gauge oh.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, and when there are so many people actually working and writing and doing wonderful art, but so there's huge variety out there that everyone's got to compete with. But thankfully, there are more than enough players. It's just that reaching everybody becomes the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my more bigger sort of like moments of kind of exposure actually came from the actually came from that massive TTRPG bundle that was sold on itch.io recently. The Trans Rights in Texas bundle.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and we think, even though we weren't in it, we're so glad people supported that.
Yeah. The minute I saw that, I shared that around. We got off of the news cycle. Promoted it. I bought into it, and I was very overwhelmed by the eclectic variety that was on display. Like it was like it was like that's how I actually got exposed to the Caltrops TTRPG system that just used D4s. I got introduced to some pretty well made 5th edition homebrew stuff, some solo journal stuff, a really eclectic take on film noir I didn't expect, where you actually use a cork board and an actual evidence board to make your case.
Yeah, that's what's great about the bundles, is that it's an inexpensive way for people to try out new things. And be exposed to them, and then go and buy more of the product, and share the love in a way that we can spread things around much faster.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for example, going off another bundle, I was also aware there was a reproductive rights bundle that Drive-Thru RPG was doing, and I noticed that Green Ronin's 3rd edition Mutants and Masterminds a book was in there, and that's a superhero RPG system that actually got me into TTRPGs. Like my very first TTRPG, it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons; it was 2nd edition Mutants and Masterminds. Wow. Like a buddy of mine got me to that, and I loved the superhero universe, the variety of being able to create your own superhero. And I saw, hey, 3rd edition's in this bundle. Check this out. And people were looking at me like, "What's that?" They're more familiar with either masks or Claim the Sky, and I'm like, "No, check this out."
Yeah, I mean, with Mobius Worlds, which is just to plug some other stuff on our side, for the publisher side, does Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition, which is also a newer superhero game system that can be very simple or a little more complex. And it's got
bundles of D6s.
Yeah, it's big bundles of D6s. So it's that's a little more straightforward, and you can do a lot of different things with it. There's a handful of stuff that's currently available, and more on the way. They have everything from hardcore superhero all the way to 90s The Crow.
Okay. Oh my gosh!
One of our writers, Bill Keyes, who created Blood and Justice.
Blood and Justice. Mm-hmm. I'm showing my age. I was very much raised in the 90s, and I do have a certain nostalgia for the era of grunge and pogs. But give me Silver Age any day.
Well, that's the basis for most of Prowlers and Paragons. Yeah,
definitely. That's where the core book definitely digs in.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I was going to ask about, and again, forgive me. I would love to bring it up, but as we saw earlier, the tablet hates StreamYard for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's where I have all the files. But you said the adventure books are Project Awesome?
Mm-hmm. Right. Project Awesome is the overarching title for this series of adventures. This, what do they call it in Savage Worlds again?
Plot Point Campaign.
Plot Point Campaign. Thank you. Yes. I've been writing stuff that isn't Savage Worlds here for the last few weeks. Just suddenly forgot all the terminology.
Working on that, and then also moving on to another Savage World property.
And so, Project Awesome is the series of adventures. It right now has 3 parts. It is definitely planned for more. We'll just have to see how successful things are and where it takes it.
Yeah.
The 3 parts that exist right now do form a full arc.
Yeah.
Taking you from the discovery of this weird alien I'm forgetting my words again.
It's like a monument or
weird alien monolith through to the revelation of the existence of the Robotrons and the ability to make one of those characters if you like.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great.
Are we going to get the toy box adventure?
I hope so.
We can only hope.
We can only hope.
But yeah, it's going to be either either 2023 or 2024. We just don't know. Yeah, everything's kind of working through the company and trying to decide next moves on everything.
Yeah, the idea is that there'll definitely be another 3 adventures to accompany the Advanced Technology Manual, another 3 for the Occult Operations Manual. Now, whether those actually come out at the same time as the manuals, or if they're a separate crowdfunding campaign later, is definitely in the air.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, if you were able to give any advice to somebody that wants to actually contribute to a TTRPG, either an adventure, world building, official content of any sort, what kind of advice would you give to any of those aspiring creatives?
My first suggestion would be make sure you understand whatever system you're going to work with, not just its mechanics, but understand their style. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize when they're trying to get into freelancing, is that you have to write within that style. And that includes a lot of different aspects of just general writing that a lot of people skip, a lot of new people skip. But that's also important on how you structure things and what kind of items you would have in a game, so that you know that. And then, of course, just look on their websites. A lot of them will are saying, hey, just submit something and here are the rules for submitting it, and we'll keep you on we'll keep you notified. And of course, also with all the different the growing number of fan publishing, like the DMs Guild and Savage Worlds has swag, the Savage Worlds Adventurers Guild, through Drive-Thru RPG. That's another way to build an audience. I mean, there's some people that, at least with Savage Worlds, where all of their work is swag. They're not doing print yet because they're just on their own, but they're getting their names out there, they're getting their work out there, they're gaining interest. And it's a good way. I mean, even all this license people who work with the licensees or with Pinnacle, we throw stuff out on swag too, just to, this is a cool idea, let's share it with everybody, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed massively in the decade since I started getting into things. I started with a blog and gathered the attention of some publishers that way. They came to me, and that's unusual. It's not how people are usually going to break in, but I got very lucky that way. And
self-promotion has really just changed, and it's like its own science now. I know.
I mean, don't undervalue your work. Honestly, given the existence of fan creator content programs like that White Wolf has, Black Onyx, DM's Guild, Pinnacle, all those, create things and sell them.
Yeah.
That's just good advice, period, especially in the social media era.
A lot of people will do I'll do it for free. No.
Don't.
You put that effort in, at least charge $1 or $2.
Set your rates. Invest in yourself. Don't do it for free.
Exactly.
No.
If it's great, people are going to buy it. But also, the best thing to do is be looking to see, people who are at least well known among fan creators. What are they charging, and kind of find those numbers. The other thing would be go to conventions and meet designers. Get to know them.
It's still very much a word of mouth industry. There's definitely a network, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, people learn who to trust. You get to know people, understand that they share the same ethos as you, and work from there.
I mean, that's more or less how I got through it. I mean, I wasn't really doing much on the blog, but when we go to conventions, I was out in front talking.
I'm very shy in person, not like this, but in person, very shy.
So I helped us, make connections with people, and those connections have paid off wonderfully in gotten me jobs. I mean, I even worked for people who I've never met in person, and then I have now, but they knew of me through somebody else who I knew in person. And it's just so many people, especially if you're working for, if it's anything that's not specifically Paizo or Wizards of the Coast, you can get to know the owners of publishers. You can get to know the designers, and they are willing to chat. and whatnot, and that makes a huge difference.
It's not what you know, it's who you know, and people talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's the big thing. It's always the big thing.
Yeah. And try to go to small conventions where there's going to be designers, because it's much easier to spend. One, you might get actually in a game with them. Two, you might be able just to hang out with them in general, and all those things help. Like, that's why we love ChupacabraCon, because all the designers just end up hanging out together, and we don't care who all joins us in the hangout.
I guess that would be the main piece of advice. Come to ChupacabraCon in Round Rock, at the end of April or beginning of May every year, because you will meet people like John Wick and Kenneth Height and
Shane Hensley from
Jody Black
and Jody Black from Pinnacle Entertainment. Yeah. Nicole Lindris and Chris Primus have also been there. That's how we actually finally got to meet them, and we actually we met them at Gen Con, but we really got to meet them at ChupacabraCon and actually just hang out and have drinks and chat or go to dinner. There's a lot of flexibility in those small conventions to get to know them as people, and that kind of helps.
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to that. Like as mentioned before, that's actually how me and Chris kind of met. We met at Save Against Fear, hosted by the Bodona Group, and it's so weird because I know the Bodona Group primarily kind of operates in our neck of the woods, and it's still kind of weird to me out whenever I do see they're recognized and beloved for what they do at bigger places like Gen Con, Origin, wherever else. And I'm like, I can just casually just sit down and have a conversation with the founder right there, and it's like we're bros, we're friends.
Yeah. It can be disconcerting and strange.
It's strange.
I like to call it the Hershey effect, because
for 2 weekends a year we're celebrities, but not the rest of the year.
It's like we go to these conventions and like, oh my god, can I I get to play in your game, you're so amazing, and I'm like going, okay. I didn't know it was that amazing. Thank you. Sign my stuff. Yes, I'll sign your stuff. Here, I even have a nicer Sharpie than you do.
It's that surreal thing where, like, you go to a big name thing. It's like, oh my god, it's Chris Perkins. You go to a small convention, you walk by Eddie Webb. It's like, hey, how's it going? And you just
exactly right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man.
So, I know after reading a few of Tyler's articles there, my wallet's going to be a little bit lighter, especially with that MHI miniatures game that you wrote about. And gaming in general is it's a broad spectrum of a lot of different topics, a lot of different genres.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from RPGs, what else are you into? What else do you like to do?
That's pretty much it.
No. So, like most RPG nerds, we play other tabletop games. We don't really play a lot of video games. It's just
because we're bad at them.
We're bad at them. That's why.
So we play the Lego games. We still haven't gotten
games,
the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga because everybody keeps complaining about bugs. But as soon as people stop complaining about bugs, we'll be back to playing.
I mean, I love Animal Crossing. I could play it. It's easy. But we're into all those genre stuff. Like, I mean, I remember becoming an anime fan in the late 70s by being exposed to Battle of Planets. Mm-hmm. And I know you were also exposed to Battle of Planets too. Kaiju.
So we're into anime, comics, kaiju, Star Wars.
All that good stuff. And then on the side, the other thing we do is we explore wine and cider and mead and spirits, where I actually do get to write for an online site about the Texas industry, and it's
she's also kind of celebrity with that too.
Yeah, I get to wineries. Oh my god, Robbie! And I'm like, I don't remember who you
are. Here, have some extra drinks to try this stuff so that you'll talk about it online. Okay, sure,
why not? I'll take it. It's free. But that's, it's the same thing. It's these small businesses, who's out there getting to know them. I use a lot of the same techniques as I would with publishers and whatnot. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Is there any particular board game or tabletop experience that you have played recently that you're really enjoying at all? You want to talk about?
What would you say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been doing much of the other tabletop stuff recently.
No,
we play a lot of cooperative games. That's
Yeah.
our preference, definitely.
I do enjoy co-op.
Yeah.
I'm more of a co-op guy than a competitive guy. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
We got the Fox and the Forest duet recently. That's really cute.
Yeah, we get these a lot of little card games and stuff like that aren't expensive, and usually co-op games, 2 to 4 players, or of course the big massive ones too, which are good fun party games.
No, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was saying, I've actually been finally getting a formal review up for this, but this has been out for a while, I believe. I've actually been checking out Bureau of Investigation, which is a Cthulhu Mythos themed spin-off of the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective board game series. If you're familiar with that at all. Have you played any of those before?
I have.
I've played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. That was way back in the day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bureau of Investigation, it's basically just, that. There's 5 cases in the box as opposed to 10, and it's basically what it sounds like. You're still detectives, you're still solving a case, but it's set in the 1920s, and it's in a very Lovecraft-inspired world of cosmic horror. So you're solving cases, but there's also red herrings and things to throw you off because, the killer isn't just some guy, it's some horrible thing that turns into a monster or something. And there's actually kind of a cool mechanic, I think. I'm not sure if it's something that Sherlock Holmes things do as well, but there's actually cases where if you actually follow up on a lead that you think is right, and it turns out it's a dead end, you actually earn additional turns back. Like, oh, you called the bureau and say, hey, I need an extension. Things got weird.
Nice.
Are you getting your characters from your game?
Yeah. So I've been enjoying that. I mean, it's definitely kind of out of my purview because I'm a bit more fond of like co-op stuff and deck building, but I do enjoy the detective aspects of that stuff. Is that King Ghidorah?
Yes. So this is what I've been doing recently is collecting Godzilla figures.
Nice.
Yes.
The 5-point set from Mezco, which are just awesome looking. Destroy All Monsters. It's just an amazingly perfect scale, and I can't wait to turn them into miniatures for a game. Yeah.
And we have used Godzilla miniatures for Dawn Kaiju games. We have these little mini G.I. Joe metal figures we used in Freedom Squadron games.
The Jada Nano metal figures. Yeah, they're very cool.
Definitely.
I can't paint, so
I can't paint either. I am flush with Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid miniatures, all unpainted. They're just staring at me, taunting me. It's like, you know what? I could get some brushes and paint and just go ham on these.
What's not buddies were all gray, so I'm like, you're done.
Yeah, you could, and you could. Then you get to like the Tronics, the Quantrons, Goldar.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid I deal with anything with a human face.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Tyler, you said you like the deck builders. I should send you Gods of Metal. I don't know if I got you that yet.
I don't think it's shown up just yet, but
We'll have to get the address and get you that one again.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, we've hit our hour where we like to be. So how about where can we find you, Sean? Where can we find you guys?
I am on Facebook. Well, we're both on Facebook. She's got a Twitter account, but never uses it. I do use mine to a lesser degree than a lot of people, but I'm trying to be more active there. And then we have our terribly out of date and underused, but I really should begin updating it again, blog, Wine and Savages.
Okay.
At blogspot.com.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And you can just most of our stuff's available through RPG. You just have to put our names in and stuff pops up.
I'm literally the only Sean Tate Bircher in the world. So yeah, just search for that.
Yeah. I'm the only Robin English Bircher.
That's true.
An exclusive club of just one member. Truly the best of the best.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where I found a lot of your stuff was through drive-through,
Yeah,
and
pretty much everything's there.
it's a big help because I have you saved as the ones to follow, that kind of thing. I'm not missing any more of that stuff.
And we're brainstorming a secret project with another favorite developer, and I don't think we can talk about any of it yet. No.
We just started.
Yeah, we just started.
But it's Savage Worlds. That's all we can say.
Yes.
But when you're ready to talk about it, yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. And how about you, Mr. Tyler? How you been?
I've been very busy. The E3 season, I guess, has been pretty darn chaotic, and on the other hand, a lot of good stuff has been coming out on both different kinds of games. I actually do a very, very super low tech pile of shame stream on my Twitch channel on Friday afternoons, where it's just me trying desperately in vain to play through stuff that I keep hearing is good. And it's like I'm only just now playing Resident Evil Village, miraculously unspoiled. So I've been I got that. But I also, like I said, I do write quite a bit for TechRaptor.net, doing a lot of tabletop review stuff. Like my recent work includes looking in depth into the recent Essence 20 TTRPG system released by Renegade Game Studios. They've used that for a licensed RPG adaptation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and G.I. Joe. I actually did full reviews for both of those, and even did a sort of a feature of like how would you actually cross these two franchises over, since it runs on the same system. So I pretty much was in that mindset the entire time I was hearing you guys talk about Freedom Force. It's like, okay. How plausible are giant robots piloted by teenagers with attitude gonna be? And
believe me, it is that is a conundrum that I have tackled.
Yeah,
definitely.
For someone who's not good at math and someone who is, it's fun.
Yes, probably my more prouder feature I did do was that I was actually able to do a bit of an email correspondence with Chris Perkins about Dungeons and Dragons, Liches, and the legacy of Liches and Vecna, because hey, Stranger Things season 4 just came out, and Vecna is becoming mainstream now, which is terrifying to think about. You could find me primarily on Twitter at Darth Rahu, all one word, capital D, capital R. I was young when I made the accounts. I'm too chicken shit to change it now. I got too many contacts. I also have a LinkedIn account. You want to talk about you not updating your personal blog? My LinkedIn is bare bones. So please, whatever. But yes, I write quite extensively. I do a lot of connections. I do a lot of interviews. I talk with a lot of people, a lot of very passionate people, and get to and are exposed to a lot of really interesting experiences. It's a lot, but it's a lot of love.
Yeah. And I hope now with convention season opening back up that we get to again, I enjoy talking to you here, and I hope we get to do it in person as well.
I actually think I actually pitched potentially actually doing doing a TTRPG thing formally for Saving in Sphere this year. So fingers crossed.
There you go.
Woo!
Y'all have to talk back and see what we're getting this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good time. I really appreciated everybody stopping in. And I look forward to seeing everybody here again.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for having me, Chris.
No problem, brothers. Anytime. See you next time.
Take care.